definitely want to ask about that journey that you take with an athlete, but I don't want to oversimplify it, but it sounds like what you were trying to do, or what you needed to do, was embrace the failure, or quote unquote failure, as part of the journey, and not see it as a failure, but as like a step towards what you were trying to achieve. Is that on the right
Um,
track here?
I had an aha moment and it was way too late. So the conclusion that I came to would be different than how I'd help an athlete work through it. So I would say real short version would be mistakes are what most of my athletes are afraid of, whether they're perfectionistic or, how bad they are. And I like to tell my athletes, I agree with you. Like, I'm not asking you to get more comfortable with failure. I'm not saying that it's okay. I hate that when people say mistakes are okay. If they were okay, we wouldn't be yelled at all the time and doing laps as a result of when we make them. We wouldn't get fired
Sure.
if we've made mistakes on the job. Mistakes are not okay. What mistakes are opportunities to learn. They're information about what went wrong. And this may sound a little bit cliche, but I help my athletes slow down and say, it's a cliche because it's so true. And so few athletes are tying into this. What did I do wrong? So if I was able to, through my story, be able to be like, well, what's going on? If I was aware enough, and that's the other aspect. I wasn't psychologically aware in high school, but if we can get you more aware of what your thoughts and feelings are and how they're making you do things that you don't want to do, I would ask the question, well, is this helping me or hurting me? Not is it right or wrong, not is the threat real or fake, but in the way I'm interacting with it, is it helping me or hurting me? And the data says that I'm actually being hurt. So then why do I want to keep doing this? And it's often
Hmm.
because we're running away from a feeling. So a lot of what I do with my athletes is, you're right, I do help them be willing to feel the failure in service of greatness, or take that risk in service of achieving their goal. There's a bit of a process with it. But it comes to a skill of developing your ability to jump outside and kind of observe your psychology, keep really close to the values of what you really want, and be willing to pay that emotional price. And when you have that formula put together, that's when you're actually able to take the risks. It's not taking the risk out of it and saying that it'll be okay, or saying that there isn't one. It's actually doubling down on respecting what it is, but being willing to go through it, much like you would do in the weight room. The weights are always heavy when you're lifting them. You kind of
Yeah.
wish they'd be lighter, but you're not going to build your strength unless you're lifting the heavy weight. So you lift the heavy weight and you feel the pain in service of your strength. And we do that emotionally as well.
That's an incredible way to put it. Is it's not being okay with it. It's learning from it and going, not going around it, not avoiding it, but going through it.
There you go.
So let's talk about the journey that you take with an athlete. So say, you brought on, you have a new patient, an athlete, doesn't matter what sport. What steps do you take to evaluate them, to see what their needs are, what areas do they want to work on, things like that? So what's that process like?
Yeah, and in general, it's really a conversation. Many of the athletes that come to me, they kind of know where they're stuck. So I specialize in helping athletes overcome their obstacles to excellence. So a lot of sports psychology professionals will work in different aspects. Some will just do the mental training on that top end where people are fine and they're teaching them mental skills like confidence and goal setting, et cetera. I happen to specialize in getting people unstuck. So they'll usually come in and they'll be able to tell me the story of what's going on. And for almost all of them, it kind of follows what I've already suggested. The idea that there is some level of avoidance or something that they can't get past in their feelings. So with performance anxiety, for example, there's a lot of what if thinking, a lot of overthinking. They're getting really, really trapped in their head. And when they're stuck in their head, they can't be out and performing in their game. So usually session one is often me spent justifying their anxiety and saying, you should be anxious and here's the reasons why, and helping them feel safe in their anxiety. And then choosing, I've got several strategies, but choosing one of them that will best help them relate to it differently. Um, a really quick example would be the fire alarm metaphor that I often use. That you've probably heard lots of fire alarms. I know that I've never been in a fire when I've heard a fire alarm, thank goodness. It's
Same.
either been somebody burning bacon, or it's the battery needs to be changed, or, if at work, there's a fire drill. But we would never ignore it, right? If we're doing this podcast and our fire alarms go off in our houses and I said, hey, look, we got a podcast to finish, just ignore it, don't worry about it, it's probably nothing. I don't think either one of us is going to feel pretty good
No.
about that.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah.
But that's what we're telling our athletes to do all the time. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. You're a great athlete. You'll get it the next time. It's a toxic positivity. And as you can tell by intensity, I can't stand it. It just creates more of a problem. And then athletes feel bad because they can't be positive all the time and they don't have confidence. I'm like, it's a fire alarm. It's your brain telling you you care about this at bat. This is a really good pitcher. It's a full count, or this is for the to advance in the playoffs. Like, of course. So, but if you and I ran out of the room just because a fire alarm went off, your podcast would suffer. there'd be nothing there, and that'd be a shame if there wasn't really a threat. Like, I've done this when I worked at the hospital. Was I'd be like, the alarm would go off. I'd check my email and see, oh, okay, people up front said it's just a drill. I don't have to interrupt this session with my client. We can just kind of stay in the room and skip the drill. And now we have to really, really focus. So I have to talk louder over the fire alarm, and you got to lean in and hear what I'm saying. And it's not the best situation. And we both wish the fire alarm wasn't going on, but this is what we need to do. And this is where sport lives, because we can't get rid of
Mm.
the fire alarms of anxiety and pressure and negative coaching. But what we can learn to do is be safe in those and then tune into what I like to say, the win. What's important now? So for this podcast, it's you and me, and it's our conversation. So whether it be a dog running around or a fire alarm in the background, we would just let those things go, but feel safe to let them run free and choose our attention on what's important now.
Hmm.
So that's the super reduced version, but that's the
Yeah, yeah.
formula that I use, and with great success. Athletes, sometimes after one or two sessions, just had a football player earlier in the season, first half going terrible. They're down by 14 points. He's caught up in his head, but he remembered this lesson that we had talked about. And he just was able to say, okay, what am I thinking about? That's the wrong thing. Unhook from it, as I like to call it. What's important now? Got back into the reads, was able to come back in the second half and win by a touchdown. Mom sent me this long letter. It's being like,
Hmm.
thank you so much. We're going to talk to you again soon. Basketball tryouts are coming up.
On to the next one.
Yeah.
Uh,